Tana, thank you for that portion of the presentation this evening. Dr. Knight, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ken Hanson, and I'm going to be presenting the balance of the presentation this evening on toxoplasmosis and mental illness. I'm speaking to you this evening from Raistà, Honduras, a village in the La Mosquitia department of Honduras. I have the pleasure this evening of presenting this talk to Drs. Tom Camp and Dr. Ben Copeland, and my team leader, Michael Franklin, who is also my videographer this evening. I'll begin now that this discussion is primarily concerned with the effects of toxoplasmosis on the human central nervous system and the diseases such as schizophrenia and Parkinson's disease. The primary hypothesis with regard to toxoplasmosis and mental illness concerns the human blood-brain barrier and the fact that many microorganisms cannot cross that blood-brain barrier. But apparently, the toxoplasmosis parasite can pass that barrier, and it takes up residence in the human brain. Now, some, but not all antibodies can also cross this barrier, and this is what presents the problem, as the parasite has taken up residence in the brain and it persists safely within the human brain, potentially causing and or contributing to mental illness. Next slide, please. You can go to the next one. You have it? Okay. According to Dr. Wang and his associates, there exists a strong body of evidence which supports or suggests a correlation between the T. gondii parasite and an infection and mental illness. But he goes on to say there are not, however, any community-based studies which support or refute this hypothesis. Now, please note that the article by Ferguson, which I will touch on in a little bit, examined all articles between 1989 and 2008, and his conclusions contradict what Dr. Wang's conclusions were. Dr. Wang goes on to state that the previous studies have found weakness, cephalia, fatigue, malaise, and confusion resulting from toxoplasmosis infection. However, these conditions can result from other illnesses also. And he also goes on to say, Dr. Wang says that there can be difficulty in concentrating. Well, I submit that a lot of things can give us difficulty in concentration, so that's not necessarily conclusive proof. Next slide, please.
Done.
Here are some summary statements concerning toxoplasmosis infection. The results suggest chronic infection of the central nervous system is a very common consequence of acute Toxoplasma gondii infection in humans. The second one is that some articles have categorized acute toxoplasmosis as, quote, a moderately disabling illness with relatively severe and prolonged neuropsychiatric effects. In the next slide, please. Now, Dr. Knight has asked us if we can come up with some conclusions about whether or not toxoplasmosis does or does not cause mental illness. Sadly, I'm unable to give you anything conclusive to answer that question. Greater minds than myself have argued this and considered this for over 100 years, and none has reached a conclusion on this as yet. So, I leave you with the statement which is on the next slide, and that is direct infection of an individual as a cause of schizophrenia is unlikely. Results were mixed regarding maternal infection, in utero exposure, and the later development of schizophrenia in the offspring, and likely accounts for a modest proportion of those with schizophrenia, possibly 6%.